Hi, this is Becky Nunn of Nunn Design, guest designer in Beadaholique today. We're going to be working on creating a piece using opaque pigments and a two-part epoxy resin. This allows you to add colorants, in this case the opaque pigments, and create fun, vibrant colors within flat tags and bezels. What you'll need for this project are some bezels and flat tags, whatever you want to fill or cover, a stir stick. I actually have a couple of other little stir sticks I just picked up at my local coffee shop and cut them in half, and that's for mixing the pigments. Some toothpicks. I've already poured a 1-to-1 ratio of the two-part epoxy resin ready for us to go. You'll need to have some cups and some color pigments. I also have some business cards. I'll be using this to transfer my images around easily. Some sort of way in which to time yourself. A pile of wet wipes, always nice to have those handy, and also some gloves. When working with two-part resin, you're going to want to look carefully at the manufacturer's instructions. Some basics are making sure your work surface is covered. I laid down a garbage bag. You also want to make sure that you have gloves that you adorn on your hands and work in a well-ventilated area. I also use glasses when I'm working with the resin just to prevent any kind of chemicals possibly getting into my eyes. At first I went ahead and poured equal quantities. I did half a fluid ounce of part A and half a fluid ounce of part B in my cup. You can watch other Beadaholique videos showing how to mix your resin. The first 2 minutes, which I have timed myself on my cell phone, I set my alarm there for 2 minutes, will be mixing the resin. My cup is very full because I have 1 full fluid ounce, and I'm just going ahead and scraping the sides and blending the two parts together. You want to do this for a full 2 minutes. Once your alarm has gone off and you've mixed it for 2 full minutes, and you're scraping the sides thoroughly, you're going to want to scrape off the sides, and then I have a light right here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it on and place it under the light and let it sit for another 5 minutes, timing that on my cell phone. Once your resin has set for a full 5 minutes and you've let all of the air bubbles come to the surface and pop, you're going to want to transfer the resin, the mixed resin, into smaller size cups. And if you're working with a lot of different colors, you can pull multiple cups. I'm just going to work with the red, and I'm going to work with the white pigments. As you can see, I've put a piece of parchment down onto a cookie sheet, and I've laid some business cards and then put my embellishments on top of there. One of the reasons I did that is this allows me to move my parts and pieces around easily once I have them set up, because I'm not going to want to bump them or move them about too much because the resin could spill off the edges. Also, I typically work in a fairly small work surface, so this allows me to put them aside someplace while I'm working on other projects. Once I have my mixed resin inside of the cups, you just go ahead and you can choose which other color you want to go. I'm going to start with the white, and I'm just going to add a little bit of the pigment into the resin. And then using one of my stir sticks, I'm going to stir it fully. And depending on how opaque you want the pigments to be, you can add more or less of the pigments into the resin. Then I'm going to just drizzle the resin right into the bezels. I've had great luck with using the two-part resin and colorants in regards to bubbles, very few bubbles. So depending on how full you want your piece to be, you can add it just to the surface, or you can add more and dome it up. This is a natural doming resin, so once it gets to the side edges, it just wants to know where that side edge is, and then it'll automatically stop and start to dome itself by wicking up. See how I'm just adding a couple extra drops onto the top surface? It'll move to the sides and stop. We're going to want to make sure we don't bump it too much as we're going to go about this. I'm actually going to flip this one over because I want that flat surface on this one. See the flat surface there? And then you just drizzle it along the edges. If you feel more comfortable, you can use a toothpick instead of this stir stick. Pretty cool, huh? So it's just sitting right on those edges. And then some areas where you want to make sure that you have less, such as around where I'm going to be pouring near the loop up here, and I'm going to want to make sure that I don't get the resin in the loop. I might want to switch over and work with my toothpick to move the resin into place. And that way I won't get the resin up inside there. If you get too much in one area, you can just pull it and move it to where you want. You might want to start with your easier surfaces and then try a curved round surface like that later once you kind of get the hang of it. But it's great just for pouring right into a bezel. Once you have your resin poured inside the bezels that you have completed, you want to go ahead and put a little plastic cup over the top of your pieces. This allows for any kind of dust from getting into there. This one might be a little bit of a challenge. Now my pieces are kitty cat hair free and dust free. This is the portion of the video where it's the Becky Nunn Dog and Pony Show, and this is where I show samples of other pieces that I've made using this technique. This one we saw in the opening, and that flat tag that we did like this, I just dropped it inside of a bezel, and here would be like that other little mini tag that we worked on. Here's what the colorants would look like when mixing with copper, and I do a lot of pieces on that flat tag and then drop it into the different sizes that the bezels fit. And you can also start to get creative in your color combinations of, you know, how to mix different colors with the different pigments, like mixing the white and the red together to create a pink. And you can also just pour some over, this is a flat tag and an embellishment, this brass, and just poured some of the color over the top of that to create a look like this. And you can finish it off just by adding on a simple leather cord and just a single piece to make something like this. This is Becky Nunn for Beadaholique, and I hope you've enjoyed learning how to use pigments with two-part resin.